How grim is the prognosis of the nuclear crisis in Japan? Well, our next guest actually thinks it could get worse. Michio Kaku is a theoretical physicist at the City University of New York, the author of the new book, Physics of the Future, How Science Will Change Daily Life by 2100. It is fascinating. I've skimmed parts of it. It's an amazing read, I got to tell you. Professor, thank you so much for being here. You have been listening, following this crisis at the nuclear facilities. You actually have an answer. What is it?
We have thrown everything except the kitchen sink at this reactor and have failed. The time has come to throw in the kitchen sink. And that is what I call the Chernobyl option. What Gorbachev did was he called out the Red Air Force, armed them with helicopters containing sand, boric acid, dolomite, and concrete, and sandbagged the Chernobyl reactor in 10 days. A raging nuclear fire, dumping 25% of its core right over the people of the Soviet Union, and he sandbagged it.
He buried it.
Buried it.
Because you're just saying you create a huge mound over this thing of sand, concrete, boron. Why boron? That absorbs the radiation?
That absorbs the neutrons, right? You saw that helicopter, right? It's so pathetic. It's like a squirt gun. That little helicopter can't do anything. What I'm saying is call out the Japanese Air Force.
Now, that's anything that can throw dirt and this sort of concrete, you're basically just creating a tomb around it.
That's right. It's called entombment. It is the last and final ace in the hole that we have.
Okay, how long would it take?
It would take a few days to assemble it, and we have to have the option of doing it. Some people say it's too extreme. Well, I'm saying it's an option. We have to exercise the option now.
Why would it be too extreme? I know you don't want to argue their side. Why would it possibly be too extreme?
Because they don't want to acknowledge how bad the situation is. The leadership there is disconnected from reality. They're not physicists. They're not engineers. They think it's just going to go away. They live in a fantasy parallel universe.
Okay, let me push you a little bit. I mean, it sounds so simple and obvious. I'm astonished nobody's thought of it. This is why you're the brilliant physicist. Where is this? Is it worth it? In other words, where in the spectrum, 3 Mile Island to Chernobyl, is this crisis right now?
Well, the Japanese government says it's a number 5, like 3 Mile Island. That's obviously wrong, because just one reactor out of control is 3 Mile Island. We have 4 nuclear power plants raging out of control. It's obviously greater than 3 Mile Island.
I just got
it's a 6.
I just got to ask you, have you called anybody over in the government there, or called the NRC here and said, bury the miserable thing, end this?
Well, I was on national television, and it got picked up by NHK. And NHK then is the national broadcasting outlet of Japan. And the prime minister finally got around to saying, oh, gee, maybe we should think about this option. So it's seeping its way now into the highest levels of the Japanese government.
This nuclear facility is never working as a nuclear facility again, right?
It's a piece of junk.
So it's done. It's going to be irradiated.
It's gone. There's no way you can salvage that thing.
So other than creating an eyesore, why not do this?
That's right. Now, remember, some people say it's kind of extreme. But look, let's put the troops on standby. Let's get them ready. Maybe we won't use them. That's great. Then we give them medals, and they don't have to go in and fight a raging reactor. But if it spirals out of control, we could lose a good chunk of northern Japan.
Look, I don't want to call you a futurist, because that's to some people sounds as though you deal with ideas that are silly. You are one of the most serious scientists out there. You've written this amazing book about what the future will look like. Let's stick to nuclear power for a minute and energy. Will nuclear power be part of our portfolio for the next 50 years?
Well, in a democracy, we have to evaluate what is called the Faustian bargain. Faust was this mythical figure who sold his soul to the devil for unlimited power. The Japanese have thrown the dice. They went for the Faustian bargain because they have no oil, they have no coal, they have no natural resources that can generate energy. So they say, yeah, we got to get the Faustian bargain. In the United States, we have a choice. We really have a choice as to whether or not we want to sell our soul to the devil for unlimited power.
Okay, selling our soul to the devil doesn't sound like something you're in favor of, so I'm going to think you take that out of the bargain. We got 1 minute left. Give us the most remarkable idea in this book that you think is going to drive our lives come 2100.
I've interviewed over 300 scientists, and they tell me that by the year 2100, 100 years from now, our grandchildren will be almost like gods of mythology. They'll think and move things around mentally. They'll have perfect bodies. They'll have timeless bodies. They'll ride in chariots like Apollo, and they'll have animal creations like Pegasus. Things that are godlike we will have.
They're not just describing their grandkids because they think their grandkids are perfect. They think science will let us do all this.
That's right. And also, think of virtual reality. We're going to have we're going to have the internet in our contact lens. And with the internet in our contact lens, we'll simply blink, and access the entire database of the planet Earth.
All right, unbelievable stuff. Professor Kaku, a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much. Coming up,